Okay, we are preparing to go live. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us for the calendar presentation. I will jump right into going over some of the information about what has been proposed to the Pulaski County School Board. At the meeting in March, I don't remember the exact date, but we had a discussion about calendar options, and those who were involved in the calendar discussion for the 21-22 school year, discussed two options: the traditional calendar and the modified calendar. And while the feedback was very much in favor to go with the traditional calendar for next year, there did seem to be enough interest in the modified calendar that we wanted to consider it for the following year. And because that seemed to be a request from a lot of the people who were giving input too, that they liked the modified calendar, but really would want more advance notice if we were going to go to that type of schedule, so that they could plan vacations and their family time and things around, enough in advance, and take advantage of some of the time off that the modified calendar offers for students and for employees. So we'll quickly walk through the calendar, and I'll just explain what some of this looks like. I know when you pick it up and read it, it doesn't always make sense when you're looking at a thousand little blocks, but what we would be looking at would be teachers would return the week of July 25th. And that first day would be a teacher work day. Then we would have a work day or open house, a work day or open house, a professional development day. There have been conversations about needing more work days before open houses. So, we can tweak this some. This was just what we put as a possibility. There would definitely be some leeway to move these days around or restructure them in a different configuration based on feedback that we receive. But then we would have the professional development day and a convocation work day. And students would start then on August the 1st, and they would go the month of August, they'd go the month of September with the Labor Day holiday still being in there. And then we would come to the first week of October, and that would be our intercession week. Students would not come in this week unless they were coming in for intercession activities. What we would have would be a work day, parent-teacher conferences. Then we would have 2 intercession days. And once again, we can have some flexibility. These are just what we put out here for discussion. If it would be better to put the parent visitation, toward the end of the week and have the intercession days at the beginning, we can work out those details. But what we have for conversational purposes are the work day, parent-teacher conferences, 2 intercession days, and then a professional development day. And the intercession days, there are a lot of flexibilities or there are a lot of ways that those days could be used. Overnight field trips, for club activities, it could be used for remediation and enrichment if that is what is needed. But my thinking was that we would try to structure them in a way that we have done elementary clubs over the last few years. Even though we didn't get to have them this year, we've tried to have teachers identify an area that they are interested in, and then sponsor clubs along those lines. And so the way I see intercession working, if you're a math teacher but you have your hobby is photography, then maybe offering some photography opportunities for students who might have an interest in it to come in and work with you. It's a way to get students, keep students engaged in school, but make it fun and make it enjoyable for everyone. And of course, the intercession days would not be mandated for students to attend. They're not actual school days. We could have, a little later start time. There would be a lot of flexibility in how they did that, but we would want something educational to occur, something that, helps build relationships and with our students and makes them feel like they're more a part of our school. But following the intersession week, the next week, everyone, all teachers and students and anybody who's not an 11 or 12-month employee would be off the following week for fall break. And then we would return and we would be off for election day in November, and we would be off, the students and teachers would be off the full week of Thanksgiving. And, the 11 and 12-month employees would still have to come in on the Monday and Tuesday, the week of Thanksgiving, but everyone would be off for those final weeks. And typically intersession time, the breaks at the end of each 9 weeks are for 3 weeks. But since this one was so close to Thanksgiving, we decided to make this 2 weeks and then put the week of Thanksgiving, because we did receive some feedback on the initial proposal that people would like to have the week of Thanksgiving off if possible. We have a lot of faculty and staff members who've moved here from other areas and other states, and this would give them an opportunity to travel home for the week of Thanksgiving if that's something that they wanted to do. We have a lot of people in the area who hunt, and that would be an opportunity for people to go hunting that week. It seemed to be an option that we got some positive feedback on. Okay, then we would return after the week of Thanksgiving to finish out the semester. The last day for students would be the 20th. The last day for teachers would be on the 21st. And the thinking was, that morning would be getting grades finalized and everything submitted. And then that afternoon, schools could have lunches or whatever and dismiss everyone for the winter break. And then 11 and 12-month employees would come in on the 22nd and 23rd. All teachers and students would be off. All students would be off from the 21st on. Teachers and students would be, or teachers and non-11 and 12-month employees would be off from the 22nd on, be off the full week of the 26th, be off the full week of June the 2nd, come back for a work day to get everything lined up for the second semester on January 9th, and the students would return on January 10th. We have a holiday on the 16th. And then students would attend until March 17th, and that would be the end of our third 9 weeks. And we would have another intersession week, similar to how it operated in the fall, for different activities, field trips, whatever, schools, I think, could really structure that, those 2 intersession days, just about any way they wanted to. Then we would have there would be a 2-week break for all teachers and school employees and students. It just so happened that in 2023, it backs up nicely to the Easter holiday. So it actually extends it, another day longer than it would be. But there would be the 2-week break. And something I forgot to mention is on the weeks here that are in blue, the first week after the intersession, we would also have enrichment time for students who were identified as needing additional assistance, and teachers who were interested in earning extra money and wanted to come in and work. This would be similar to how we operate summer school, but we would provide transportation and get the kids in and assign them, with some enrichment type of classes for those weeks. But, it would be the teachers who work would be doing so for extra pay and voluntarily. It's not that anyone would be required to come in on those days. So we would return after the Easter holiday weekend, and students would finish out the year with, the Memorial Day holiday in there. The last day for students would be on June 15th. The last day for teachers would be June 16th, and then we would go into summer break. This covers 198 days out of a teacher's 200-day contract. The other 2 days would be, we would expect one faculty meeting a month to be scheduled and expect teachers to attend that. And that's what we would use the other 2 days to cover. We would not necessarily have late Mondays, but the first Monday of each month might be when you have your faculty meeting. So I think the schools could have flexibility there if Mondays are what work and they want to make it a consistent Monday, or if it's, a different day of the week works better for that school, then I don't think we are stuck on the idea that it always has to be Monday, but it could be if that's what everyone feels would work best. So just to go over some of the points, that there are a number of advantages to the modified balanced calendar. It does lessen the summer learning loss for students' retention of knowledge and skills. Estimates are that it reduces that loss by about 50%. The shorter but more frequent breaks, it lessens the likelihood of students experiencing prolonged periods of food insecurity. That is a real issue in areas of high poverty. And in Pulaski County, we have about a 50% poverty rate with our student body. So this would, help those families out who struggle providing food consistently for their kids. It would help those kids to not have to go for as long a period of time as they currently do in the summer, maybe not having all the nutrition that they need. Multiple breaks during the year provide for timely enrichment programs, so not everything has to be done during the summer. If we do the enrichment the 1 week in October and the 1 week in the spring, then we would probably look at having a 1 week summer program, and we would actually be getting in 3 weeks of enrichment a year instead of 2, but it's not all done at once. It's kind of spread out, and we're able to provide interventions in a more timely manner. Internship hours for career and technical education courses can be scheduled during the intersession breaks. So students who, let's say the students in the CNA program who have to get, I think 80 hours of internship, they could actually go do it during the break instead of having to try to get it in during the school day. We could work with whichever nursing homes they are getting those hours in, and they could, potentially go in that 2 week time period, get all of the hours that they need for their internship. Teachers have work days when they are needed most. That, every year when we do the calendar, one of the things that is requested is to have a couple of work days at the end of each grading period, but we always end up giving that up in order to shorten, make the year end in May if possible. So with this calendar and the emphasis is actually on spreading out the time off, then it does allow us to schedule work days when teachers have said that they really need them. Frequent breaks during the year have shown to decrease the stress levels of students and teachers. Overnight field trips could be coordinated to occur on intersession days so students aren't missing additional days of instruction. It gives families more options for scheduling vacations. Breaks each season would allow time for students to participate in activities that aren't available in the summer. I mentioned hunting earlier. We have families who like to go on fishing trips, or trout fishing is really a prevalent activity for the early spring. So during spring break, that would be there. Ski trips would be possible in a lot of the areas, or a lot of the ski resorts are still operating during that time. It allows for a different type of experience during your time off than what you have when all of your days off, or the bulk of your days off, occur in the summer. And appointments can be scheduled during intersession breaks instead of during instructional days. There are disadvantages to the modified calendar as well. There are childcare concerns for the breaks. Community summer programs have less time to operate. There are fewer summer employment opportunities for students and for teachers. There are scheduling issues for extracurricular programs. Students moving into the district during the school year would likely be behind Pulaski County Public School students if we were starting 2 or 3 weeks earlier than most school divisions, and then someone moves in, that there would be a little bit of catch-up time, although that would probably balance out before the end of the year with the intersession breaks been worked in there. And achieving community buy-in is going to be a challenge, and we recognize that. So, in the conversations that we've had, it seems like there are a lot of rumors and a lot of myths going around that about what this means. So hopefully I'll try to clear up some of those here. That there is still a 6-week summer break on the modified calendar, or balanced calendar is the name that most divisions use. but there's still a 6-week summer break. It's not eliminating the summer break, but it is taking some weeks from that and spreading them out throughout the year. There are still 180 instructional days in the modified calendar, just as there is in a traditional year. The number of teacher contracted days will remain the same. If you're on a 200-day contract, you're going to still be on a 200-day contract. If you're on a 210-day contract, you're still going to have a 210-day contract. So none of that is going to change. The YMCA of Pulaski has already expressed an interest in partnering with us to help out with the child care situation. They have been really good to work with through the COVID shutdown and through the 50% attendance days and the virtual days. They have helped us meet that need in our community. Summer credit acquisition programs can be modified for some of the activities to occur during the spring intersession or to use the virtual component for meeting requirements. And the example I've been giving of this is with Camp Cougar. If we're having a 6-week summer break, we don't want the folks who work that program to have to work 4 weeks out of the 6 in the summer. So there would, between virtual and between the intersession, there would be the potential to maybe go ahead and get the health component out of the way prior to the summer, and then you're just looking at a 2-week summer program. And that could be focused more on the activities, or you might, maybe if whitewater rafting is still an activity that they do, there are a lot of good opportunities for that in the spring. So it could be on a Saturday in the spring. I would think there's some potential to work with that so that the folks who work in those summer programs wouldn't have to sacrifice the entire summer in order to, if they want to still participate in those programs. Approving a calendar change like this more than a year in advance would give employees and families time to make plans in accordance with the future scheduled breaks. And that was what we heard loud and clear from the parents, the students, and the faculty and staff teams, that the people who were interested in this, really felt like if we were going to do it, give as much notice as possible. And that's why the recommendation was made in March of 2021 for a calendar change that wouldn't really go into effect until July of 2022. So, well over a year in advance. So if we are going to do this, people will know and can plan accordingly. And, the last point is that, we're going to be working for the next decade to make up for what's been lost this year with regard to student skills and student knowledge. We don't even know yet what the deficits are because we don't have all of our kids back in the building, and the tools that we use to measure students don't take into account whether they were learning virtually or whether they were in person or whether they were virtual and then came back in person and then went back virtual. We've kind of got all these things going on, and we're really going to have to return to some degree of normalcy before we can even get a good assessment of where we are. So we're not going to fix the deficits that have been caused by COVID in a year, but this is a calendar that has been proven to be effective for students, especially those who live in poverty or near poverty circumstances. It's been proven to increase academic performance, and it's going to be cost neutral or near cost neutral way to address the deficits that have been created. So with that, we will open it up for questions or comments. As soon as we close this out, I will send this group a survey, and it'll be open for an hour. I would like to get some immediate feedback from the folks who participated. And then later today or tomorrow, I will share the video and the survey with all the secondary faculty and staff to get additional feedback. So with that, we will go ahead and open it up if anyone has questions they would like to ask.
I was curious as to whether the buses would still run on Intersession Days, because rides to school might be an issue.
They would definitely run on the enrichment days, and if we feel like that is needed, I think we could probably come up with the funding to run buses 4 extra days a year. That would probably not be an issue. We haven't really discussed it yet, but it's a good suggestion. If we feel like that, that it's crucial in order to get participation, then yeah, I imagine we would we would make arrangements. It might be like a summer school run, not a full regular bus run, but still have opportunities for any kid who wants to come in to participate in an intercession activity to be able to do so.
Would there be the option to use the buildings during the fall break or breaks for activities such as like play practice, marching band practice during that time off?
Yeah, absolutely. We use it now in the summer for band camp, or if Mr. McCoy's running a theater camp at the high school, we open up the buildings for those, and they would definitely be available for any of those type of activities.
Do you know of any school districts that have adopted this calendar or something similar in terms of here in Southwest Virginia or somewhere in close proximity to us?
I know that Gaylox had it for a few years, and they went away from it. And I reached out to Mr. Joyce. Of course, he came on board after they went away from it, and didn't know fully. He said there were some issues with how they did the enrichment part of their intercession. I think that during their week of intercession, when the teachers were coming in, they were trying to make that the week focused on enrichment, and it wasn't as successful as they had hoped it would be. So that was one of the reasons when we started talking about intercession, we wanted to make it something different, something, we're still going to do the enrichment during the time off, but we're not going to require that everybody participate in the enrichment side of things. I think for the enrichment work, it really requires somebody who wants to be doing that, instead of taking the time off and not feeling like that's being forced on them. Forced enrichment is probably not the best way to go. And there may be other reasons too, but that was really the only reason that he was aware that they backed away from it, because they weren't getting the results out of their intercession time that they had hoped to.
Dr. Sears?
Yes.
I worked in Gaylox during the time of that intercession, and I can just say that it was a successful program in the end, but it had pretty much run its course. Having been a part of that one and it being set up the way you just described, and enrichment and remediation was run during the same week, and then the next week was off. I like the way this schedule looks a lot better, because I think having the option for intercession for remedial purposes during 2 days, and then giving the option for the next week, I don't know, just the look of the calendar, I think looks really good to me. I also think that you're right on with the concerns. Obviously, you are aware of what they are, and that was what Gaylox hit too, was childcare was a big concern, and on the negative side, these are things that'll be difficult for us, but you'll find that, and the community buy-in, but you'll find that people love it in the end. And I think we're very sad. I think they're still doing a modified version of it in Gaylox, but they were really afraid to see it go away once they did buy into it. So there will be questions at first, but I do think people will really, really like it.
Okay, thank you. And that's good to hear. Like I say, Mr. Joyce came in after it was already decided that they would move away from that calendar. So he was not really privy to all the conversations that led up to that decision being made.
Dr. Sears, I have more of a comment question, I guess. In talking with a lot of the CTE teachers, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, in talking with a lot of CTE teachers, here is what they're telling me. They went to teaching from industry, and in industry, they made a lot more money than they do as a teacher. They're concerned because they use those summer months to kind of make up some of that income, and they feel that they're going to have less opportunity to make that income because we're tied to this calendar. That seems to be, while it does technically keep us at the same amount of days off, it's spread out through the year. So a big concern is how are they going to make it? And I don't know the answer to that question, but it is a valid concern in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's something that really hasn't entered into the conversation, but it is something that we would have to discuss to, how many,
I mean,
are we
as a
talking
CTE
about a majority of the CTE teachers? Are we talking about 2 or 3 of the CTE teachers? I think some of these
Several.
questions would have to be answered.
Several. And one of the questions that we have is that, we're industry professionals, but when we came into teaching, we were not given our full number of years. Like, for example, I was in industry for 18 years and I was only given 9 of those years towards the salary bracket or whatever it's called. So, I mean, it's a little bit frustrating even to begin as a teacher. So, I don't know how you're going to market that to CTE teachers and let them feel appreciated.
Okay, thank you. That is something we will have conversations about and see if there aren't solutions out there that would make it work for everyone.
Dr. Sears, I think that's a problem across the board, not just with CTE teachers. A lot of teachers use the summer for supplemental income to just try to save up some money to make up for what we're, our low income. I mean, and that's another thing, like if the county can't even afford to pay for a 5% pay increase for teachers, how are they going to pay for these intercession things, which are really, really expensive? If, how's it going to get funded?
Well, it wouldn't be really, unless we run buses, that would be the only added expense because the intercession days are still in the regular contracted days. But yeah, the shorter, the reducing the time off in the summer, we recognize that does reduce employment opportunities for teachers and students. And I guess the decision that has to be made, does that, does the fact that this is, has been proven to be a better calendar for students, for promoting student success, does that outweigh some of the negative aspects of it? And maybe it won't, maybe it will, I don't know. That'll have to be part of the conversation.
Well, coming from a parent of a child who was in Carroll County and also had intercession, she absolutely loved it. But my child is very smart and she never had to do remediation. And so in Carroll County, when they had intercession, and I don't know if they still do, but she's not in that county anymore. She goes to Pulaski County. But when they had enrichment, it was either enrichment things or remediation. If the child needed remediation, they weren't allowed to do the fun stuff, so to speak. But the kids who did the fun stuff, from my understanding, it was a whole lot of work for the teachers and it was very expensive. That's what I'm talking about. The funding for the activities they're going to do. For example, a couple of her enrichment activities during intercession, one of them was an escape room. To create an escape room in a classroom is very expensive. It's going to take a lot of, I don't know, there was a lot of extra stuff that the teachers had to buy in order to create the things in the room. One teacher had a CSI like crime scene in her room. She had, a dead body on the floor, which was a dummy. They spend a lot of money on these enrichment activities. And that's what I'm talking about when I say, where's the funding going to come from?
Yeah, and well, that's something we would have to, I think we would have to work to schedule intercession type activities that we could afford. There may be the opportunity to budget some money for that. Some years might be better than others. I don't know, but I think it has worked at the elementary level with the clubs, and those schools have, it hasn't been a lot of money. We haven't been able to budget a lot of money, but the schools have budgeted, maybe $50 for each club sponsor to get some materials with. We would have to work through that, but I think we build the programs around what we can afford to do, and that may change from year to year.
I have a question to tack on that. about the intercession. I know there's going to be some students who don't require remediation, but also aren't involved or don't want to be involved in the extracurricular activities or the club activities. Is there going to be an expectation for teachers to assign like work or projects during the intercession time, like we do the extension or the extensions are now?
I would not think so. I mean, somebody may come up with a reason why that should be allowed, but you know, the way I see intercessions occurring are for teachers to schedule activities and invite students in that are of an interest to the teacher and to the students that they can kind of navigate. You know, if we have, let's say the coach at the basketball coach at the high school would like to come in, you know, I know he's not a teacher, but if he were and he wanted to run a camp for an intercession 2-day camp for the elementary students in basketball, and he could get some of the players to come in and do some type of mini camp, that would be a possibility for an intercession activity, and one that's probably not going to cost money. You know, if we have a teacher who hiking is the hobby and they want to try to take a group and hike, you know, 10 miles on the Appalachian Trail or something, plot out the course and walk it, then, you know, we could try to work out the transportation arrangements, and there might be a small cost with that. But you know, I think it's wide open, but it's not something we would require the students to come in and participate in any intercession, but we would invite them and give them the opportunity to sign up for something that interests them. And I can't remember if it was Dr. Legg or someone else who made the point a while ago, you know, and I think that's, no, it was Miss France. I think that's why what we're planning, you know, probably works a little better than what others do, because everyone would have the opportunity to do intercession activities. And then the students who need enrichment and who need remediation would be targeted for the following week to come in for that. So they wouldn't have to, you know, sacrifice doing an activity they may enjoy because, you know, they are participating in mandated remediation.
That was a question that most of the CTE teachers had as well. They would like some clarification on what is expected during intercession days. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments that anyone would like to make?
One more, just I wanted to think of a situation you could run into with the activities. If a student is involved in multiple activities or multiple classes, you might see teachers sort of like, or students torn at who they're going to go to on intercession days. And if projects are for certain classes span over 1 or 2 days, it could cause an issue. But I mean, that's just an organizational thing to look at later down the road.
Yeah, that, you know, they might have to make a choice if they were a band student and you were doing something, but their science teacher was going, you know, to explore a cave, and that's really something they had an interest in, then they would have to make a decision. And you know, I would hope we would create an environment where whatever their decision is, we respect their choice to maybe go try something new, even if we, you know, really wanted them to come and prepare for a concert, but they chose something else. You know, I would hope we would give the students the freedom to really explore their other interest, if that's what they want to do during the intercession activities.
I have one more question. I'm sorry. Part of the CTE building is not air conditioned, and several wondered how that would happen during the hot summer months. Like what is the plan for that? And I don't know.
Actually, the plans are in place, and work has already started on the engineering to get some of the shop areas air conditioned, and as well as the gym at the high school. And you know, with the second round of stimulus money that we received, that that's what we put in our application, that it would be used to improve the air quality in just about every part of the school division that doesn't currently have air conditioning should be able to get it with this second round of stimulus money that we're receiving.
Dr. Sears, if I may, one of the questions we addressed at the Cougar Center was asking, or was in regard to the spring break time, if it was possible that the spring break ran from the 3rd to the 7th, the 10th be taken out and that added in at Memorial Day to have the Friday prior to 26th along with the 29th. Could that be something that we that's looked at?
Yeah, if that's something that that we feel would be better, and you know, I kind of like it personally. From
Lots of people go.
Yeah,
Memorial Day, that would be a nice little extra, and then we already have that 2 weeks with the spring break time.
okay, yeah, thank you. I think that's a good suggestion, and it doesn't extend us beyond 3 weeks of students being out, because that was something that was brought up yesterday. You know, it's really over 3 weeks that some students may be out of school. And
Right. Thank you.
thank you.
One last question that I had, with, I guess, the encouragement of the student organizations, the CTSOs, to schedule field trips during the intersession. Do you feel like this would put limits on those teachers for planning any other type of field trips during, I guess, the academic calendar? Would there be I guess, a stricter limit on those, knowing that we would be, you know, that they would prefer us to schedule them during intersession? I know a lot of club activities, especially for regionals and states and things like that, are scheduled already, and we don't have the option to, you know, to change those dates because
Yeah,
ahead of
you know,
time.
I would think we look at it 2 different ways. You know, there are field trips, and then there are required activities that you all have to participate in, and this would be, you know, we would encourage you the optional type field trips that you may like to put together. You know, we would encourage those to happen on the Intersession Days, but the regional competitions and shows and those type things, not, you know, those would still be available to attend, just as they always are.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
One last question with regard to what Jenny just asked. If we do an overnight field trip with our club, for those of us who are required to work the extra days in our, like the 10 extra day people, would anything above those 8 hours go towards those extra days that we have to work? Say, for example, we were on a field trip for 3 days. Could we count any of those extra hours above an 8-hour day towards our additional time that we're required to work?
You know, that would be fine with me. I would run it by Miss Atkinson, or if it's, you know, if you're at one of the other schools, you know, run it by the principal. But yeah, I think there's a lot of flexibility there, and I would be perfectly fine counting those additional hours in as time worked. Any other questions or comments?
Dr. Sears,
Yes.
forgive me if I missed this because I lost signal a little bit. In regards to the remediation days, how will attendance be handled for that? Because I understand that they'll be invited to come for the remediation. How are we, like, is it going to be, if you're invited, you're required to go? Will there be attendance consequences if they don't attend?
Yeah, we would handle it the same way we do with summer school. You know, I don't know that it would impact truancy, but, you know, we would definitely be doing everything we could to get the students who needed to be in there, and you know, there's the potential that they could even be mandated to participate or be retained. I mean, that's kind of how we've handled summer school to, you know, it's so hard to say with any certainty. It wouldn't affect truancy, and we would do what we do in summer school to try to get students in. And it's something we deal with every year, and we just have to handle it on an individual basis, and then decide if participation was satisfactory. And if it wasn't, then what are we going to do to still try to get this student up to speed?
Okay, and then additionally, are meals going to be provided on those intersession and remediation days? And then as well, like during the breaks, because like right now over summer, we have the summer meal program. Would they provide meals over the summer or over those breaks as well?
Yeah, that would be part of our plan, assuming that all the funding mechanisms remain in place from USDA and the state that fund the summer meals programs. And you know, now we pretty much provide meals every day that we're not in school. We you know, if it's a weekday, we find a way to provide meals to students, and hopefully they'll keep those models in place so that school divisions can continue doing that long term and not just during the pandemic.
Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you all for participating today. Like I said, I will send out a survey for this group in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and it'll be open for about an hour. And then I'll get the link for the video and the survey link and all that, and send it out in a different email to all the faculty and staff for the secondary schools, and get their feedback as well. So thank you all. If you think of a question or comment after this that you would like to share with me, just shoot me an email or call me here at the office, and I'll be happy to try to answer as best I can.
Dr. Sears, one thing I wanted to mention, just a light note to end. When they mentioned the CTE scavenger hunt about the dead body on the floor, your face was priceless at first before she clarified it was a mock. It was really funny.
But you never know what you will encounter in public education. So sometimes you take things at face